this mother sucker
Ruined it?
just ruined it for me, because I was waiting for my favorite actor to receive his award, and my favorite actor at that time was Will Smith.
Oh, wow.
So I love Will Smith, but I don't like him today. So I've come to the point where I've gotten, and it was hard for me to do, but I got so mad I just said, Will Smith.
And that's when he started.
Matter of fact, I got it. Yeah, matter of fact, to this day, I don't like any Smith. I just all the Smiths, all. Will Smith, his wife, G.I. Jane, Jada Smith. Fuck them two little weird ass kids, Willow and Willette. Fuck him, fuck them, fuck them all. Fuck his grandmama, Granny Smith, and fuck them apples too. Fuck them all. Come on, I've been cussing all my life. Fucker. I mean, but I can cuss now. I'm just doing it. Yeah, all the Smith. Yeah, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Fuck that movie. I don't give a damn. Come on, man. Yeah, Jimmy Smith. Come on. I don't give a damn. Fuck the Smithsonian Institute. Fuck this man. I don't like any Smith. Stephen A. Smith on ESPN. Fuck him. Fuck Emmitt Smith of the Dallas Cowboys.
What's going on, Rebel family? Today's video, Will Smith finally apologizes. He addresses the world and talking about the incident with Chris Rock. And George Wallace is underrated. When I saw that clip, even just watching it just now, it's hard for me not to laugh. That dude said, F them two little weird kids, Willow and Willette. That just cracks me up. George Wallace, man, I tell you. So George Wallace, he will get off, you know, F the wife, G.I. Jane, Jada. That is funny. Stephen A. Smith, Emmitt Smith, F all the Smiths. Smithsonian. George Wallace is underrated. But let's go ahead and jump right into the video. But before we do, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Man, let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to just take a look at this apology video by Will Smith, and I have some questions and I have some thoughts about it. And you know, here we go with Will Smith. You know, it's been a minute over the last few months. He's been doing a lot of thinking and personal work. Okay, sure. You know, you've asked a lot of fair questions that I wanted to take some time to answer. Now, he obviously is not going to address the real questions that are being asked on social media or being asked
why
in the public. Before we get started though, there's who chose these questions for him. I think it was like 3 or 4 questions. I'm not gonna play all of them, but clearly, you know, he's been watching what's going on. So let's hear what he has to say here.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point.
See, that's still an excuse. You were fogged out. You sat up there and went on this. You weren't that fogged out because you apologized to the Academy in that speech. You know, I can't even listen to that speech again, but he apologized to the Academy in that speech. So you were so fogged out, you were able to apologize to the Academy, yet you didn't apologize to Chris Rock in that moment. Come on, Will, man. He's still with the excuses.
It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever you're ready to talk. I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and you know, that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and you know, I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment. So I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. You know, we had a great relationship. You know, Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable. I spent the last.
Yeah, so let me stop there. So this is clear based on what he's saying here that he's been watching what's going on social media. He knows what's going on out here. He's seeing everything. Best believe a guy who has cultivated his image over the last 30 years is very sensitive to what's being said about him at this point. And I think probably it was his publicist said, hey man, you got to say something. It's been months now and you haven't said anything. You have to try to minimize the damage. But I think with this statement, it didn't do anything to change the narrative about Will Smith at this point. He did what he's supposed to do. Yeah, I'm supposed to apologize, but the apologize to Chris Rock probably should have came a lot sooner in the form of video. Like I said again, he apologized to the Academy on the stage that night because he understood he was wrong. He just didn't think he was wrong to Chris. I don't believe. I believe he understood that, hey, I shouldn't have done this at the Academy, and he was wrong for that. What he did, where he did it, I should say, at the Academy Awards or whatever. That's why he apologized to the Academy, and he didn't apologize to Chris that night. He still thought he was right, and the acceptance speech showed. He thought he was just a father protecting his family, and he had these weird excuses about protecting a family. Even his wife came out and threw him under the bus. Jada Pinkett came out and threw him under the bus. Hey, I don't need to be protected. You're in there saying all this stuff about protecting, so I don't even need your protection. Made him look even more like a fool. So this is damage control, clearly, and he's seeing everything.
3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened in that moment.
There's really only one complexity. You've been a simp for a woman that really don't love you. That's really the only complexion. That's really all it is. That you chose the wrong woman. And she's costing you a lot. That relationship, trying to hold on to that relationship is costing you big time. It's cost you your image. You look crazy out here in these streets. And then, like I said, I did a live stream a while back that was saying he's not going to leave her. We just have to see how bad it's going to get for Will Smith. Now, did I ever dream that it was going to be something like this? Nope. But here it is. I mean, I don't know what's going to wake him up to understand that, you're just with a toxic person and, things aren't going to get any better. They're going to continue to get worse. And I keep predicting this thing here. As long as he's with her, it's going to get worse.
And I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults. After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something?
Okay. See, these questions were absolutely scripted to try to, they were scripted to try to quell some of the questions that are being out here. Because this question to me addresses what a lot of people were saying. Because it states that when she rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? So you framed it a way that nobody's ever said anything. Jada Pinkett didn't have to tell you to do anything. You saw her reaction and you chose to do something. And so this is a straw man argument, right? They framed the question in a way. They framed the question in a way that makes it easy for him to speak on or to answer and address it. That's really all this question is about.
No.
See,
it's like
emphatically no.
You know,
Take the blame off
I
her.
made a choice
Yep, you made
on
a
my
choice,
own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris, Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. I'm gonna say sorry to my kids and my family for the heat that I brought on all of us.
See, the heat that he's brought on. He understands, just like George Wallace stated at the beginning. Pretty much everybody it's at this point, the loudest voices are on Chris Rock's side. You know, F the Smiths, F Jada, so forth and so on. At this point, he understands that the Smith brand is mud out here in the streets. He understands that now because he can see it. So everybody's catching heat, as he's stating himself. This is the reason why this is he's taking the opportunity to do this now. They thought that, okay, this thing would be blown over by now, and it hasn't. In fact, it keeps getting worse, right? We see the things that are getting worse. Let me play something here that shows how much worse this is getting here.
Apartment, that's not my problem. They barely let niggas in there. Hello, police.
Three of the greatest comedians of their generation, all on stage at one time, and you can guess exactly what they're talking about or what they're going to start talking about.
Yes, there's a nigger with a goat on the 3rd floor. I'm from the country. I'll tell you the truth, Kevin. The better gift would have been a sheep. Goats eat grass from the roots. Sheep just skim the top.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything, man?
Now,
What the fuck did you just say?
Don't act like I'm crazy, nigga. You brought the goat.
Juan, get this fucking
This
picture.
nigga is confused
Come on.
as fuck. What's up?
Dave, come
What are
here,
you gonna
Dave.
name this goat, Chris?
Come in. The name is Will Smith. Come here.
see, clown. They understood that this thing is not going away. With this level of visibility to it. Now, Chris Rock hasn't even come out and spoken publicly in a public forum. This is just them doing stand-ups, and you hear clip after clip after clip of, when Dave Chappelle was attacked on stage and Chris Rock was there. It was like, who is that? Will Smith? There's so many jabs and jokes. The comedians are squarely on Chris Rock's side. It isn't even close, and a lot of those guys are in the same circles. So Will Smith is hearing this stuff. Kevin Hart is from Philly. Will Smith is from Philly. So it ain't like that they don't know each other. They're from the same city, and I'm sure they've run in the same circles. And for him to be up here making these jokes, because they understood that as comedians, they got each other's back, and Will Smith was wrong, and he's hearing all the jokes about Jada Pinkett. People are clowning. I can't even mention all of the comedians that are making jokes and clowning at this point, or celebrities talking about, F Jada, this, that, and the third.
What did I say? What?
See, clown.
Come here, baby.
They named the goat Will
Face
Smith.
this way. Come here, Chris. On some real shit. Alright. Fucking go.
Does this guy work here?
No.
All right, I ain't gonna keep playing that, but he's understanding, that it's mud out here.
To all my fellow nominees, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me, and it really breaks my heart to have stolen and tarnished your moment. I can still see Questlove's eyes. It happened on Questlove's award, and it's like I'm sorry really isn't sufficient.
Okay, I'm gonna let him. I ain't gonna play the rest of it. I'm gonna let him get that part off, and then that's it pretty much for that. Because the questions that were being asked on social media one of them was, look, why didn't you have all that smoke for August Alsina? I ain't see that question come up, right? Those are some of the big questions. Not that, you thought the joke was funny. It wasn't that did Jada ask you to do something. Clearly, we saw that she didn't ask you to do anything, but you acknowledged the eye roll in this question. So you noticed she had a reaction to it. So the better question would have been was, why did you react? Did you think it was funny? And if you thought it was funny, why did you react? Did you react because you saw Jada's eye roll? The August Alsina question. Why don't you have that smoke for him? Why don't you slap him up? He was the one that was letting your wife have it. These are the things that are being actually spoken about. And we see on social media, in terms of after this apology came out, that, is Chris Rock going to apologize to Jada? So then, there's still some feminists on Jada's side because so forth that Jada is wrong. She was as wrong as Chris. The level of disrespect was the same, and it's not the same. Well, this apology was purely to try to protect his image, nothing more, nothing less. Not saying that Will Smith is a horrible person or anything like that. I don't know him personally. I do wish the best for him. And one of the things that's going to be best for him is clear at this point, is for him to, get away from the toxic woman that he has in his house. And, I don't know what's going to make that brother see at this point that, all of these things in the past 5 years has come because of one person. Well, actually two, but I mean, he's allowing it, so ultimately it's his fault. But it's his wife, Jada Pinkett. But brothers, we have to learn from example. The best, we can easily learn from the mistakes of others. That's the wise man who learns from the mistakes of others. And Will Smith is a lesson in understanding when you're losing and you're in a toxic relationship. Those are my final thoughts. Peace, Rebel family.